If you missed our last episode, you may have missed our MVP. Exposed to heavy doses of gamma radiation, scientist Bruce Banner transformed into a mean green rage machine, deciding he didn't need the Avengers anymore, or really any humans at all. He took off across country only to find the Avengers coming after him. He eluded them thanks to a train carrying flour and went on to become last week's MVP. If you were going to find out who this week's MVP, you better stick around. Welcome to Avengers versus Justice League. I did so much better this time.
And then there came a day, unlike any other day.
Welcome to Avengers versus Justice League. This is my co-host and friend. We got Magic Lasso. What's going on, Ryan?
Hey, great to be with you. How's everyone doing tonight?
I've been looking forward to this. I said last week, but last episode. It's been a few weeks. But this has been a really fun show. Ryan and I have been getting together for a while, trying to think this through and plan this out. Getting into Silver Age comics, team comics in specific, Avengers and Justice League. I bought those Omnis. He's been collecting Justice League of America for an incredibly long time, getting close to finishing his Volume 1 collection.
Yeah.
I've been working on the Avengers Volume 1, some of the earliest issues of that run. And this just seemed like a great way to get into the discussion around these Silver Age classics. So the goal of this show, we're going to be going through these original stories issue by issue and debating and discussing them issue versus one another. We've done 3 issues already, and you can find there's a playlist that Ryan made down below in the description for this video. So if you want to go back and find our discussions of issues 1, 2, and 3, you're more than welcome to do that when you're done here. But tonight is a big one. Tonight we're discussing issue 4. And Ryan, when we first came up with this idea, you pointed out that there was an interesting similarity to issue 4. What was that you noticed?
Yeah, there's interesting similarities number-wise in both of these titles. Like, for example, way far in the future, issue 200 of Avengers was done by George Perez. Issue 200 of Justice League was done by George Perez. So there's things like that. But tonight, not only does one team get a new member, so does the other team. So we get 2 brand spanking new members, both in the 4th issue.
Yeah.
So they're kind of even Steven there.
Yeah. In that way, you're seeing a similarity that can be very fun to compare, which is how do these comics add a new team member and what are they doing story-wise to make that new addition work? Yeah.
Granted, these books were published about 3 years time difference, 3 to 3.5 year time difference in between. But it's still interesting that the same parallels, and you'll see more of this as the show goes on.
Yeah, for sure. Tonight's issue 4, we got Captain America and Green Arrow joining the team, and we're going to break these books down by several categories: cover, interior art, story, and then MVP, which we hit off there at the beginning, where we really want the chat to help us decide some of these things. We're going to give you our opinions and we're going to break down some of those things for you. But then you in the chat are going to be the one to help decide which is the better book, not from a speculation standpoint or a monetary standpoint, but from a quality of reading and enjoyment. Which of these books is a better book?
Yeah, exactly. It's totally up to you. And as you'll find out during the show, it's not John versus Ryan, because you will see, if you think, okay, John's representing Avengers, you'll see John saying that the JLA was better in this category. And you might see me say, no, the Avengers was better in this category too. So it's really, the teams have done the battle already. We're just presenting it to you to help decide.
And we're removing the history, right? It's not a matter of like, oh, which team do you like better or which artist is your favorite?
Key.
Yeah, we're removing all that and really just hyper focused on this one issue and its neighbor, and which is the one that really is the superior issue in the end.
Sure.
So tonight, Ryan, you're going to kick us off on the Avengers side. I've got the book, though. I can hold up the covers because we're going to start off with a discussion of cover. So here is the Avengers issue 4 cover. Ryan there has the JLA issue 4 cover. What are your thoughts on the covers here we're getting?
I think these are both really good covers. Nothing wrong with either one of them. I think that the yellow popped a little bit more, and I don't know if I just have this feeling that this wasn't a bright yellow even back in the 1960s. I just don't think it was.
A subtler kind of yellow.
Yeah, I think if it was a brighter pop that popped a little bit more, that could enhance it. But really, I mean, that's a minute detail. The
Sure.
Avengers cover, I love everything about that with the exception of one thing. What do you think it is that I don't like about that Avengers cover?
Is it Namor?
Yes, exactly. That's the only thing I don't like on there.
There he is.
I'm like, just get some white out.
I mean, I'm fine with doing that
up.
to Namor most of the time.
Yeah.
I totally forgot to do our roll call. We got to check in on the people in the chat and say hello to some friends and let us know which cover you might like right off the bat. We got Rod the RYAN in the chat, and it's a great reminder that he's going live in an hour and a half, and I'm going to be joining him to celebrate our friend Edwin the Comic Jabroni, whose passing occurred, I believe it was now 4 years ago today. So
I can't believe that.
Over there in an hour and a half. We got Perry Gaming in the chat giving me one of several likes. I'm assuming he's going to hit the channel like button many times with all of his channels. That's my expectation. Yep. I am dropping the link in the chat for Ryan's YouTube channel. It's also in the description below. Why? Because Ryan's awesome and will be on his channel for issue 5 very soon. But also he is at least last I checked, 2 subscribers away from 800.
Oh so my gosh.
Get your other friend in there. Get your other neighbor. Get your other YouTube channel live and active. And hit the subscribe button to Magic Lasso here on YouTube so that we can crest him over the 800 firmly and be ready for him to be in that.
I need a subscription from Perry Gaming, Perry Gambling, Perry Reacts, Perry Goes to the Movies, Perry Goes to the White House.
Yes.
Perry Goes Shopping. All
Electric
of those accounts.
Boogaloo. Yeah.
I need all of those accounts to sub up.
Yep. So be sure you're ready for that. So be sure you're subscribed. We got Bleecker Street. He just hit 600 subscribers thanks to Ryan and many others. So congrats to you, sir. The Reverend is in the chat. We got Carlito Classico. What is going on, my friend? I hope you're having a good night. We got Rawfist Comics in the chat. What is going on? Hello to you. We got Sheena and Inja in the chat. Melanin and Manga. Great duo. Hope you ladies are doing well. We got White Tiger Ruben Guzman. Hope you're cool and your collecting is going well. That's a battle where everybody wins. I'm just saying, put them together. That's peanut butter and jelly, my friend. That's all I want.
There is a comic book of that, though. Not them battling, but them.
The amalgam. I was going to say the amalgam comic, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Covers look very similar, but Cap takes it for the Avengers more dynamic. Okay. There's a comment already. We got Kenneth Bird. What is going on, Kenneth? How do you know all my channels?
I'm sub to them.
There you go.
What do you mean?
Gore Vidal is in the chat. What is going on, my friend? I hope you're having a good night. We got Christina Payne in the chat. What's going on, Christina? Yes, I am rocking my Read Your Comics Daryl t-shirt because Hulk was a big part of last time, and we mentioned him at the top of the show. I thought it was a good fit. There's the link to Rod's channel where we're going to be in about an hour and a half. But again, we should be subbing up Magic Lasso. I want constant updates so that we can see when he hits 800 subscribers. But now back to some covers here. Did you have anything that were any problems for you with the JLA issue 4 cover?
Just that I wanted a brighter yellow.
Bright. You wanted more intense color. Okay.
Yep. And like I said, maybe it's my copy, but somehow I got a feeling that there just aren't these golden yellow covers out on this issue. I don't know. I feel it. I want to hear your thoughts, but I already, between the two, have a clear-cut winner.
I mean, obviously the Marvel issue is it suffers from the Stan Lee, how many words can we fit on a cover kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I do think he's taken a step back, which I love. There's only the 2, like besides the title, of course.
Yeah.
You got a word bubble here for Submariner, and then you got one for Cap, and then he's amazingly held back. Like he did not have 4 or 5 other word balloons around here, which I'm very impressed with.
I've got more writing on this Justice League cover.
I mean, right, which is a rarity for Stan and Jack at this point. I do love that you get more of the team on there. I feel like sometimes they've been kind of like hiding a couple of characters. Obviously, Superman and Batman consistently not cover appearances for them. Mm-hmm. But I do like again, both covers have a dynamic hero entrance. I would have loved to have seen more of Green Arrow's face. He's kind of turned away from us. And so in that way, I feel like I'm missing a little bit of something. But it's nice he's coming to the rescue of the team. It gives us that sense that, like, he's jumping in and being a part of what's going on.
So in one sense, the Justice League book very much depicts a panel that you see inside the story.
Fact.
You could say that the Avengers cover doesn't, but it does at the same time too, though, because it is the introduction of him into the team.
Right.
So
it's
in a way that
it's more symbolic.
It's
than
more
literal.
symbolic than
for sure.
So does that play any factor into your
it certainly has. There's definitely been books where that bugs me because the cover doesn't demonstrate anything functional to the book. But I don't think that works as a mark against Avengers 4 because, like you're saying, it's figuratively accurate, even if it's not literally accurate. And so in that way, it's not like they're showing you something that's completely unrelated. They're trying to highlight what is a big return from the Golden Age, the character that has been long gone from comic books. Clearly a character, as if you read the book, very impactful and important to Jack and Stan. And they're clearly highlighting the excitement they've got in bringing this character back. So in that way, it feels accurate, even if, like you're saying, it's not literally the.
Do you think that Avengers cover has been overused, or
duplicated? As far as like homages and things.
Not well, that included, but just that. I mean, to me, between the two covers, you haven't seen this Justice League cover that much.
No, I mean, I can probably count how many times I've seen someone post that book, and it's not many.
But on the same time, I think everyone knows what that Avengers 4 cover looks like. That is into comics.
Truly.
Does that count against it? Or is that because it's so good that it doesn't matter?
I think it's the second for me personally. I think it's in that way, it's kind of like a lot of those Silver Age Batman first reappearances issue, those covers that are like, oh, that Two-Face one or that Scarecrow one are burned into my brain because these are characters like Cap that have been gone for a while, returning triumphantly. And in that way, it feels like a first appearance. In a way, it feels like a celebration of that character. And in that way, for me, that's why I'm going to end up choosing this cover for me personally, it's iconic. It's monumental in my mind as far as my favorite Avengers covers. It's easily a top 5 all-time Avengers cover for me, if not top 2.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that when you think Avengers cover, this is one of the more iconic ones, one of the ones that will instantly come to mind, even more than issue 1.
Oh, absolutely.
I think
100%.
This one. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
I think sometimes people might almost take for granted that he was there from day one. He almost
because of that, right?
Yeah. He almost was, but
a little bit 3 months late.
Yeah. Both covers are great. I'm in my opinion, both covers are really good. But the one that wins just a little bit more is the Avengers one.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at with it as well.
Yeah,
and I do agree. The Submariner thing's a little odd.
I wish that was gone. I think that would make it even better.
Yeah,
but it is what it is.
And I will say also, and I don't know how many people who have this book have date stamps on it. Mine has a date stamp, and I'm always highlighting the fact that it's a Christmas Eve 1963 date stamp.
Well, how appropriate Christmas Eve when we're talking about Comic Jabroni today, because that was his birthday.
That's his birthday, yeah.
Not that December, year,
but it's like a little Christmas Eve present. We have the return of Captain America.
Yeah.
For me, I also kind of love that element for this cover. I know that it's not common for most people to have it, but there it is.
Do you want to see my Avengers 4?
Yes.
So here we have, if you look on the side, see the stitching? Can you see the stitching on the side?
Almost, yeah. Is it a square bound?
So my friend, Mr. Fridge Art, was traveling abroad last year. And for Christmas last year, this is one of many things that he gifted me. And I was getting around to reading this book. And I thought, then we decided to do the show. And I said, okay, I'm not going to read the book because this issue comes up pretty quick in our show. So I'm going to wait until then. So last night I got the book out to actually read this physical copy.
Wow.
And I knew he got it from another country, but I didn't know if it was, I mean, the cover's in English. I didn't
Okay.
know if the interior was going to be in English.
And
You ready to see?
I am ready. What?
It's
Is
a
it
notebook.
a choose your own adventure?
It's a notebook. I thought it was a complete reprint of the comic in a spiral bound.
That's hilarious.
It's a notebook.
What are you gonna do?
I still love the cover.
It's still gorgeous.
Though.
It's still gorgeous.
It is. It's still friggin' awesome.
There's a couple of good comments here in the chat. Daryl says that's where the Avengers gels into the book that it's really known as later on.
I agree with that.
Mm-hmm. We got Simon from Mad Spidey in the chat.
What's up, Simon?
Thank you, sir. Good to see you. He clearly wants this book. That was my big purchase last summer. Was that and the first appearance of Black Panther. That was my big 2023 set. So I'm very excited to have those. Bobby De La Ghetto. What is going on, Bobby? Good to see you, sir. So there we go. We've completed cover. We've discussed them a little bit. Feel free to, like you've been doing, leave your comments about the covers in the chat. We're going to move on to the story now, getting into the plot and the elements and we'll start with Avengers. If you want, I can hold up my copy as you go along, or did you want to swipe with your iPad? What do you want to do?
No, I'll let you hold up.
Okay.
I'll read with mine. So essentially we get a great first page spread that kind of previews what is going to be happening in there. And essentially it's saying, hey, welcome to the team, Captain America. And they take a moment to point out as well that Jack Kirby drew the original Captain America during the Golden Age, and he's doing it again. Stan Lee's first script was a Captain America, and now he's writing Captain America again. So they're talking about how it comes full circle. And they do say, we sincerely suggest you save this issue. We feel you will treasure it in time to come.
I love that. I love that they included that right off the jump, because it feels like you can. I felt their excitement bleeding through, and this is where Stan kept all those word bubbles from the cover. He brought them all.
Exactly. Yeah, that's like the cover he really wanted.
Right.
Yeah. So our story really picks up right where the last one left off. We have Namor, who's in battle with the Avengers. The Hulk has bailed on him. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know where the Hulk is. Namor realizes that he's outwitted, and he says, the final victory will end up being mine, and all of mankind will pay the rightful due to Namor, Prince of Atlantis. He takes off, and he starts swimming deeper and deeper, and he's essentially looking for the Atlanteans. They are gone.
I don't remember how that plot line played out and why they've gone into hiding and where they've been.
Yeah,
I didn't read a lot of that.
This is something
FF
from
stuff.
Fantastic Four Annual #1 that they're picking up on, because that's where it happened at.
Sure.
So he's searching for his people, and it's taking him, through the waters all over the world, and he ends up in the Arctic. And while he's searching, he sees some humans and in a village, and a bunch of them, and it looks like they are praying to something, and they're all bowing, and he decides to go check it out. And when he gets there, he's like, they're fools, they're bowing to a petrified figure frozen in a cake of ice.
Yep.
So he announces, hey, what you see before you is the Submariner, who has sworn vengeance upon the entire human race, and they actually know who he is. He is the dreaded Namor, they say, the legendary one. So they start to run. He picks up this frozen shell with a man inside and starts almost using it as a weapon to hit him with.
So many anger issues.
Exactly. And he is upset and he's mad and he's breaking the ice and he's using this ice thing with the man inside, as a weapon, and it ends up in the water and starts to float away. And it eventually hits the Gulf Stream, where the rock-hard outer ice begins to slowly melt. So there's a person inside. Well, wouldn't you know it, at that exact moment, the Avengers, who are leaving from their battle with Namor, they see there is someone encased in some ice below them in the sea. And they're like, we got to get him. So Giant Man, not much of a difficult thing to just grab him and pull him in. And they're like,
Capsicle.
Yeah, Capsicle. Why is he frozen solid? Who is this man? And they're like, Thor notices that he has some type of costume on. And Wasp is like, you don't recognize it? That is the famed Captain America. And they realize that she's right.
Yep.
And Thor is like, could this really be him? And they even find his mask and they're like, yeah, it is. And Jan announces, hey, he isn't dead. He's breathing. His eyes are actually flickering.
Spoiler. He's
And
alive.
he ends up waking up and he's screaming for Bucky, telling Bucky to look out. And he's disoriented, doesn't know where he's at. He starts to battle the Avengers and they're trying to calm him down because, they say he's gone mad. And then he's like, oh, I remember now. Bucky is dead. Nothing on Earth can change that. Then he's kind of like, well, where am I? And how did I get here? And who are you? And Iron Man's like, well, that's kind of what we were going to ask you.
Right.
And he's like, who am I? He's like, oh, for a moment I had almost forgotten myself, but I am not lucky enough to forget forever. To forget that I was once the man the world called Captain America.
And then they have that little training montage too.
Yeah. So there they go, and he starts to think that this is maybe some type of trick, or they're like, the Avengers are like, how come you haven't aged since World War II? This doesn't make sense. And there's like, if it's a trick, you're going to live to regret it. And he's like, I have no need of tricks, test me, try to conquer me. So they had that little training montage that you talk about.
Yep.
And he's easily able to defeat them, although Jan ends up stopping them because she goes from wasp size into her regular full size, and that kind of startles her because to him, she just appears out of nowhere. And they eventually said, okay, we're convinced that you are the real McCoy. What happened to you? Why haven't you aged? And Thor says, I feel like we need an explanation. So now we go back into the past where
I didn't realize Bucky had blonde hair here.
I know.
I don't know if he's got blonde hair in your version.
He does.
I don't remember Bucky with blonde hair, but yeah, we flash back a little.
Yeah, Steve and Bucky they're talking about their last mission, and they're trying to reach this plane that has just taken off. And if they fail to reach the plane, America loses one of its newest weapons. And Bucky ends up getting a little bit on the plane ahead of Cap, and Cap's like, no, there's a bomb on there and it's about to blow. He's like, you got to get off of this. And well, the thing explodes and Bucky's instantly gone, and Cap falls into the water and just kind of doesn't know what to do and just accepts that it's over for him.
It's capsicle time.
Yeah. So now at this point they have reached New York City, and they decide to keep Cap in their machine,
like submarine,
in their submarine, while they go to talk to the press. And the press is a little miffed with them because they're not answering so many questions. And then all of a sudden there's this big flash of what they think is a flash photograph being taken, and all of the Avengers are turned to stone.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. And the newspaper men are like, that's a pretty crummy trick to pull on us after we waited all day for this interview. Let's find them. This was a distraction. They're around here somewhere. So minutes later, Cap comes up from the Avengers submarine, and he's looking. He's like, well, everybody's gone and it's deserted. Why would they leave without me? And then he sees these statues, which are really the Avengers, but he feels that, they're statues. And he's like, why do they have statues, and why are they in weird poses? And as he starts to walk around...
Let's be fair, he's been on ice for a long time. He's just kind of like, he's getting his bearings.
Yeah. So as they start to walk around, he's already being recognized. People are going, that's Captain America. Or some people are saying, I remember my brother talking about him, or I remember my father talking about him, or this. Or one police officer says, Cap, I saw you when you were a kid. I know that that's you. I would never forget it. And he confirms, you're not mistaken. I am Captain America. And it moves this police officer to the point that he needs a handkerchief. He says, I have something in my eye, but he is teared up. So Captain America's gone to a nearby a hotel.
How he's going to pay for that, I don't know.
Yeah. And he's remarking what an interesting thing television is, because that's new to him. And then he feels he's just seen Bucky. He's like, Bucky, it's you. And from the shadows, he's welcoming Bucky back. But as he comes forward, it's Rick Jones. And he keeps telling him, you could just be Bucky's double. And Bucky's kind of like, hey, fella, you're not reading me. I just was going to ask you, what do you know about the Avengers' disappearance? We can't find them. And if you don't want to have a problem with my friend the Hulk, you'd leave me alone. He's like, I don't know what this Hulk is, lad, but if the Avengers are missing, I'll gladly help you try to find them.
He's already diving into a new mission. Yeah.
Yeah. So he says, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't for calling you Bucky. He was a close friend of mine. And he's like, I realize life goes on. And in a way, because you look like Bucky, Bucky can still live on. So he says, well, so pictures were taken of the Avengers at the dock. I need to study them. And Bucky says, I'll get you some pictures. And then he notices that his behavior changes. He's like a guy that's used to being obeyed and being obeyed fast. So they do some enlargements, and as Cap's looking through, he keeps enlarging the photo, and he realizes that someone in the crowd doesn't have a camera. He has a gun. And he's like, okay, so we got to figure out who this guy is and find this guy. That's going to be our clue. So
they're
Rick
investigating.
Jones, says, I'll contact the Teen Brigade. Mm-hmm. And they start communicating, trying to find someone with the same description or same clothes. And there's only one guy that seems to fit exactly what they're looking for. So they pass it along to Cap where he's located at. Cap goes to investigate, and he realizes it's him. And as he breaks through the window, this guy's goons decide to start gunning him down.
I mean, those are good signs. He's got goons. He's got goons with guns. That's probably a good sign.
Yeah.
That he's your bad guy.
So he's using the shield. He's demonstrating that he's still in proper form. He says, I prefer the name Captain America. He's like, I read about him when I was a kid. And he's literally, it's one guy against this entire mob of people, but he's just wiping the floor with them.
Right.
Easily. And when he finally gets up to the guy that he was looking for, he realizes that he's not human, that he's actually an alien. And then the other guys that were working for this head baddie didn't even realize he was an alien, and they're freaked out by it too. Yeah. So the alien, or Cap's saying to the alien, what have you done to the Avengers? I need to know. And he's begging them to unhand him because he can't bear physical contact with primitive beings. He talks about he's from a distant galaxy and how his name is even unpronounceable to humans. And centuries ago, his spaceship crashed on Earth to the bottom of the sea. And he hasn't been able to leave since. And in the meantime, because he had this ray that turned people to stone, and because his hair looks the way it looks, it's almost like he's a Medusa. And people think that he's got even though it's not snakes in his hair that's turning people to stone, but that's what they kind of think he is.
I love how Cap makes that reference. That's funny.
Yeah, yeah. And he does go on to say that, what was it, like a 72-hour, no, what was it, 72-hour hold or something like that? In stone, the people stay. There was like a time limit.
But anyway, stone for 100 of your Earth hours.
100 hours, okay.
Yeah.
So he goes on to say, I did this to the Avengers because of someone who calls himself the Submariner. He found my ship and said that he could free it if I could turn the Avengers to stone, so I had no choice. I had to do it. And Cap's like, well, if you can do it, then you can undo it. Let's get going. So they take him to where these Avengers who are encased in stone are, and he does.
The guy looks
I actually have a comment about that when we get done with
so good
with recapping the story.
I want to remind everybody that we're trying to get Ryan to 800 subscribers. I'm going to drop his link again. If you're not subscribed to Magic Lasso, he was 2 away at the start of the show. I want him to see if we can get there. What is up, Chedai Knight? Everyone give me 20, John 30, Lasso, you're in a polo tomorrow, do 50. That's my hello. And Carrie, I didn't say officially hi to you, officially unofficial geek. And there was one other person. Where are we at? Old Wolf, what's going on? And Tony, Signature King Tony.
OSK is here.
Both Tonys. Hello, gentlemen.
Yeah. They reverse the polarity, and the Avengers are turned back from stone. Namor knows that his plan has failed. The one who
now they got to deal with Namor again.
Yep, the one who calls himself Captain America robbed him of his victory. And he says, hey, this is a lesson. Whatever the Submariner must do, he must do alone. And he's monologuing to himself about how awesome he is. And my brain is agile, and my energy is inexhaustible, and I'm going to destroy the Avengers. So he just keeps going on about that. So this alien takes them to where his ship crash landed at. And the Avengers are like, we're going to get it free for you. So they head down undersea, some of them do, to see what they can do, to see what situation that they're working with. And Thor is using
This is cool. I never knew his hammer works this way.
Yeah. So Thor is using his hammer to direct cosmic magnetic waves towards the alien craft to attract it to, like a magnet, pull it back up. And it looks like it's working too. So he was able to free the ship, and Thor's like, why do you sound surprised? Was that not my intention?
He makes it, he's very casual about it.
They're in the process of getting this ship up when Namor shows up, starts to attack.
Mm-hmm.
And Namor's got some goons with him. Despite just getting done saying that he can do it all by himself, he grabs some people to help him.
And that he couldn't find his own people. He's still looking.
He
found thugs real quickly.
Yeah. So the Avengers and Namor and their guys go into battle, and Namor and Iron Man are really scrapping it out.
Yep.
And Wasp is able to blind him a little bit. We see Thor, he's trying to make work on the other guys that came with Namor. And finally Namor jumps in and vows that Thor will never swing that hammer again. And undersea, we see the ship is getting freed, but Giant Man, who is turned into Ant-Man to escape a net that is around the ship, is almost ate by a fish who mistakes him to be a worm or some type of food. So he has to turn back into Giant Man. And then he kind of comes up on shore and freaks the other guys of Namor's out and jumps into the fight. And so Cap is watching all of this, taking this in, and he really notices how powerful they are and how well they work as a team. And he's kind of thinking, this might be a good place for me. And Namor says, you've forgotten something. They say, we have your boy. They have Rick Jones. He's our hostage. And Cap jumps out at that point and gets into the battle and starts taking these guys on. And Cap and Namor start to fight, and it's disrupted by what they initially think might be an earthquake. But even though the island that they're on is kind of whooshing back and forth, but what really is happening is that ship from undersea with the alien, he's been able to get into there. He's fired up the ship, and he's getting ready to essentially blow this popsicle stand. So he leaves Earth and the planet, and everyone, all of Namor and his bad guys have kind of scattered at this point. And Cap says, I think that I kind of want to join the team. And they're like, yeah, we welcome you, Captain America, to the ranks of the Avengers. Wasp wonders if this was a victory or a defeat. And then the issue ends with Rick Jones thinking about, he's like, I know that Cap wants me to kind of be his partner, but what about the Hulk? What would the Hulk do? Won't he feel betrayed if he comes back and realizes that I partnered up with a different hero? And if he thinks Captain America has replaced him, will anything be able to stop him then? And that pondering is how the issue ends.
A little divided loyalty for him as far as where he is put. He feels like he might be betraying Hulk by supporting the Avengers, right?
Yeah.
Some fun comments going on here in the chat. Bobby says, I don't know how to turn people to stone. And then puffs of smoke. I get what I get that. Man walks down the street in a strange world. Maybe there's broccoli. Maybe there's some cheese around. I get it. Namor is like a teenager, and he is always causing havoc as a teenager. I respect that. Rick Jones. It's not Rick James, and it's not Ric Flair. I like what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Dude gets the job. No background check. No T-test. No nothing. Welcome to the Avengers. I mean, it is Captain America. I feel like he had some bona fides going into that.
Yeah.
So do we want to discuss it a little bit, or do we want to jump into the other book?
Let's do the JLA, and then we'll kind of talk about both stories, why people are deciding which one.
Because I do think there's an interesting similarity in the villains this week as well.
Okay.
So yeah, just like Avengers was doing, we get a page at the very start of the JLA issue 4, kind of giving us that preview, giving us that information, highlighting the fact that a new team member is joining. Cheer him on. This is Green Arrow. He's a classic, well, not a classic. He's a great new hero that we can be adding to the team, because he'd had his own series for a while at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a chance to introduce him to the JLA and into this new universe.
Sure.
But of course, much like Avengers, we then jump back in time a little bit to set up the villain. And the similarity for me here is that we have a villain who's not really a villain, but is kind of forced to attack our heroes. We get a really long introduction to this character. It's what, 6 pages, 8 pages of backstory to this whole other kind of galaxy where there is this infighting group and these characters that dislike each other. And the villain in this world is deciding to send Xandor, Xandor is the bad guy, and he's going to send the competition, banish him to Earth like it's a prison. Like it's the worst thing in the world that he can do is send him to this backwater place and hope that he will never be a problem again. But he's not just sending this character, I forgot his name already, Carthan? Yes, he's sending Carthan to Earth along with these 3 electromagnetic based disturbance pieces that are going to trap him on Earth. The idea is these boxes will be in special places on Earth. And if he decides to try to disrupt them or fly away without disengaging them, he will be seriously harmed, whether blinded, where he can't then find his way back to his home world, or whether just injured or killed. He is basically now going to be confined to Earth along with these 3 boxes. And that's where he kind of comes to and wakes up. And then, they give him a little information on how it's going to work and where these boxes are and how he's being teleported in. It's quite a lot of setup. It's an intricate setup to deal with. And I also love there's a lot of monologuing here. A lot of times when the bad guy's like, Xandor says to Carthan, how is it you are invulnerable? How is it that when I shoot you, you're not getting hurt? And Carthan is like, I know you're going to banish me. I know you're going to send me to another planet, but let me explain exactly how I'm invulnerable. Let me tell you everything about myself, and all my secrets will be revealed. So they're very open with each other. I feel like the bad guy explains all of his master plan and how to disable these tools in some ways. And our hero Carthan is like, let me tell you all about my weaknesses, all about my strengths. They're very upfront. I appreciate the honesty we're getting here from these characters from another galaxy. I don't know how you felt about these guys off the bat, but a lot of upfront information here going down. And then they load him into the rocket and they blast him off, and they give him a ton of time while en route, much like baby Superman in his little jet, to learn all about Earth on the way. He's able to study up and learn all about Earth. He learns that there's a Justice League. He learns that there's these amazing heroes, and he comes up with his diabolical plan. Much like the alien in Avengers, his plan is, let me attack these guys, and then maybe they'll help me.
Yes.
It's genius. He's going to attack the Avengers, the Justice League, and he's going to trick them into destroying the 3 boxes for him,
which fixes his problem.
So that then he can leave Earth and go seek out his vengeance on Xandor. That's the genius plan setting this all up. And then we cut to the JLA having their weekly roundabout, sitting at the table, discussing their plans because they want to have a new member on the team, but it needs to be unanimous. So we've got all the team there, even Superman and Batman. They're all hanging out. They're all offering their ideas. And it seems like Green Arrow is a lock. Seems like they've selected their person, but before they can officially vote, an arrow strikes the table, and it seems to have some energy, and it's speaking. The vibrations are speaking. And it's the voice of Carthan, and he is laying out what he wants from them. I have captured your Green Arrow. You cannot possibly rescue him. But what I've done is put these 3 boxes strategically around Earth. And unless you can destroy them, you'll never see Green Arrow again, basically. And this is that classic Silver Age Justice League moment when chapter 1 is now ending. We've gotten all the prologue, we've gotten all the information, and we're going to get 3 chapters now where our team splits up to deal with these problems around the planet. This has been a trope, if you haven't been watching all along, that these books have 5 chapters, these Justice League of America books. The first one is the setup, the final one's the conclusion, and in the middle, we get 3 chapters where various team members are broken up to solve these problems. Chapter 2, we're getting my guy, Martian Manhunter, flying to the first box, which seems to have been now manipulating nature in its area. And now we've got giant bees and giant hornets and giant cats. Carrie's going to like that. All of which apparently were the natural animals around the mother box. We've got him partnered with Wonder Woman. And Wonder Woman is dealing with the eagles that are flying around that are now oversized. And so the 2 of them are strategically using their abilities to try to fight off these giant creatures. Wonder Woman's using her lasso to try to rescue Martian Manhunter. And he is trying to stay away from the incredible heat of this desert that they're flying over. But they find a way to get underground. There's a tunnel, and he blocks the tunnel with a rock so they can get down to this box and try to destroy it. But like it is classically JLA, there's a puzzle. They've got to solve the puzzle of the box because punching it just comes right back to normal. It doesn't seem to take any damage. Then they see that there's this blanket, and they're thinking, oh, maybe there's another piece here. And they lay the blanket over the mother box. I keep calling it mother box. Sorry, the box. And it reveals that there's a hidden lever. And then when they turn the lever, they tie the lasso to the lever. They're able to pull the lever and disable that box. And all the animals return to normal size. That is the solution to that first box. And I want to say hello to Inja Binja. What is going on, Inja? I'm going to drop Ryan's link again. We are going to get him to 800 tonight. I promised Ryan. He was 2 subscribers away at the start of the show. If you're not subscribed to Magic Lasso, let's get him to 800 subscribers tonight. That would be fantastic. And Carrie says, giant cats are usually not doing anything. They're just sitting inside the boxes. That's fair. They're not, but when they see the invisible jet, it becomes a toy. They can play with the toy, right?
How do you see an invisible jet?
Because you see the person flying in it, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Chapter 3 is following Flash and Aquaman, and they are racing across the ocean to get to that second box. And they're they're worried that it's on an island that is slowly being encroached by water. So what Flash does is he starts running in a circle to keep the water off the island and allow Aquaman to get in to activate it, right? But he's also got to get his underwater buddies to help him out, right? And they're getting some tools that allow them to sort of get the box situated to a point where they can touch it. But the problem is that there's a what is it? Is it the radiation coming off of it? Let's see. He says he can't get near the machine, and he starts holding up signs to let Flash know, I can't get near the machine. You're maybe fast enough. I need your help to turn it off. So Flash, the vibrations coming off the machine are such that Flash needs to mirror the vibrations that will then stop the machine, right? So when he mirrors the vibrations just in time that Aquaman runs in and flips the lever and shuts down the second machine. Yay, success. There you go. Oh, Carrie says, oh, you only need 1 more subscriber.
That's awesome. Thank you.
There it is. We're 1 away. Is it cheating if I go in with my other account? No, that's not cheating. That's fair. You're subscribing. That's all it really is. So on to chapter 4. This is a Green Lantern on his own storyline because Batman and Superman are dealing with the bad guy who's got Green Arrow, right? They're dealing with Carthan. Of course, Green Lantern shows up to look for the third box, and there's giant yellow monkey aliens because that's what happens. He's zooming in and around them, trying to figure out how to attack them. Everything he uses is green, and it's not having an effect on the yellow of these creatures. And finally, he realizes what I need to do is coat them. So he destroys a whole forest, takes the lumber, and basically creates little wood cocoons around the yellow monkeys. And when he does that, then he is able to manipulate them into a solid form and petrify them so that they no longer are a threat. He's then able to go in and move around some of these, I guess they're like little buildings, and find the lever that he needs to do. But the thing is, the lever is yellow. Always the curse of yellow with the Green Lantern ring. So he's got to figure out a way to do it. He basically just uses sheer willpower, and he's pushing it with all of his might, and he then makes a shovel to dig the earth out from under him so that he has better effort to then flip that last switch and successfully turn off the last mother box thing. What is up, sleepy reader? How you doing? He says, howdy, giant monkey aliens and human comic fans. There you go. Deforestation and animal cruelty. I mean, he's just really checking a lot of those boxes off. The last story is our finale, chapter 5. It's kicking off with Superman and Batman. Batman's flying the Bat Jet, and they are basically on their way to rescue Green Arrow. Green Arrow is captured in this somewhat invisible jet, this spaceship, and Superman drills a hole. They jump inside, and there's a set of colorful force fields trapping Green Arrow. And Superman's able to get inside, and they basically create, he makes a little lead shield to kind of get Green Arrow out. And when they do, Green Arrow is able to recount the story of how he got captured and what he went through. Oh, we've hit it. 800 subscribers for Magic Lasso. If you haven't subscribed, the link's in the chat and down below. Let's make sure he doesn't fall back. If you haven't subbed up, let's make that happen.
Thank you. I can't wait to go over and look.
Yeah. So now the team is basically finally going to come together and reunite, but all of a sudden they get trapped inside of a weird bubble, and it's shaped into the diamond from the cover, where the heroes are stuck inside, and Carthan is basically testing them. He's imprisoned them inside of this shape, and they're sapping away the heroes' strength. And Carthan is realizing that he didn't need to harm these characters, that they probably would have helped him from the beginning. He's feeling some of that guilt, and his aura is wearing off. His powers are fading away, and he's realizing that he's going to need their help more than ever, but he doesn't want them to die. Of course, this is where Green Arrow comes in handy. He has just the weapon and just the tool. And with the assistance of Green Lantern targeting him to find the weakest spot in that diamond, they blast an arrow in and destroy it, releasing them all happily. And then they're all friends again, much like the alien and the Avengers from the other book. It's like, oh, do you want us to come help and fight this Xandor guy? Carthan's like, nope, that's my problem. I got it. You've helped me. I'm out of here. And he takes off into outer space to go get his revenge, much like the Rocket at the end of the Avengers issue. And our heroes are left snapping the day away with Snapper Carr because it's groovy. So,
all right, I'm going.
There were some fun.
I'm going over to look really quick.
There's some fun similarities.
There it is.
There's some fun similarities here between these stories. I do think that we've got similar villain issues, similar dynamics, similar heroes being like, oh, the bad guy trapped us, but now the bad guy was going to let us free. And we've got to work together because there's a worse bad guy. Now we kind of like each other. Now we're friends, and the alien can take off in a spaceship. Like, there's similar plot lines going on in these books.
So while John and I start talking about specifics in each one of the books, some of our own commentary, you can start in the chat telling us which story you thought was the better one while we kind of discuss.
Yeah, we gave you the cliff notes. We gave you the cliff notes. You don't have to have read either one, but let us know. Did you like a story better? Does a story fit with your vibe a little better? What are you thinking? And hello to Brian LCS. Hey, Brian. What is going on, brother?
So a couple things, starting with the Justice League. For an issue that makes Green Arrow the newest member, he's hardly in it.
Right?
Like, and how do you even know? Like, he's like, oh, I have your Green Arrow that you're considering joining. How do you even know if that's true?
He could be lying to you, right?
I kind of wish that they would have set it up a little bit with the interaction with Green Arrow in the beginning.
Seeing him get captured or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't come in till just the last couple pages, essentially. you know? I thought
Just
that was
really
a
for
little.
that.
Didn't you think that was weird?
I did. And just for that cover moment when he fires
Yeah.
the arrow to break the diamond, which is given away by the cover. So we
Yeah.
know he's going to do it. I mean, at least I assumed that that was going to happen. So yeah, it was a little bit, I was a little disappointed that he wasn't as big of a part of it.
I mean, especially for the issue that introduces him as a member.
Right.
I thought he would have a bigger role in the story.
Completely. Totally agree.
With the Avengers story, jumping over to that, I mentioned when I was reviewing this that I would make a note about, they call him the asparagus guy. Did that alien not remind you of the asparagus one that Dark Phoenix, remember when she took out their entire planet? Yeah. Did that not remind you of that?
Very similar looking alien for sure.
Yeah. So, and then with the Avengers book, didn't you feel for a while that it almost, and I'm not saying that it didn't deserve to do this, but didn't you feel that it almost was just a Captain America book for a while?
So it's the inverse problem, right?
Yes,
because I did feel like the first half is a Captain America book. It really gives Cap a ton to do, and then it flips into an Avengers book in the second half.
Yeah.
But I will say, just from a character standpoint, I like that balance better for introducing a new character to the team.
Sure. Well,
I do like giving them a lot to shine and then bringing the team in, inversely to give me the team and then throw them in as the last piece at the end.
Yeah.
I think of the two options, I think I like the second or the first one better.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I just thought it was, I don't know. Yeah, out of the two, I like the second option much better, but what are your thoughts? What are some things that you thought about each one of these?
Carrie says it's like Deus Ex Machina Green Arrow. she's choosing Justice League. Bobby's going Avengers. Okay. He says, I got to go with Kirby's Avengers. I mean, Captain America. Yeah, I do. I think considering they both have similar story points and plots, the holes felt bigger in the Justice League book, meaning like the 3-4 page intro where we're getting all of this backstory was way too convoluted,
way too long.
And yeah.
And not what you want at the introduction of the book. You want to see the people you know. And
there were 3 big Silver Age expectations of me to just like buy into it. Like, firstly, that the villain not Carthan, but Xandor has this epic plan to like solve it. 2, that they both give each other all the information right off the bat.
Yeah.
And 3, that Carthan decides the solution is to then trick the Justice League in some crazy outlet. He's researching them on this whole flight to Earth. He doesn't realize they're good guys that he could just like ask. Mm-hmm. But it's got to, I mean, because imagine if they had just said, he's flying to Earth, he's learning all about them, and he shows up and asks their help. And then you get your 3 chapters where they're going and why do we need the deception, I guess, is my question. Like, it feels like a ridiculous ask that just giggles me. Inversely, it works better in the Avengers book for me because Namor is a jerk. And so I believe he would trick the alien into freezing the Avengers.
Sure.
I believe that he would lie to the villain and do all this stuff. I buy all of that. Like, it doesn't sound like a big ask or disbelief. Like, from a plot realism, not that I'm expecting that from Silver Age comics, I buy it easier in the Avengers book, that plot line. And I really don't care for all the characters. Xandor and Carthan weren't working for me. Give me Namor as a bad guy every day. You could blame anything in the Marvel universe on Namor and I buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seeking Superman, what did you miss? I mean, you missed like 2 pages with Superman. It really was not a ton.
Yeah, he didn't do a whole lot.
Yeah, Seeking Superman in this issue of Justice League of America will be a lifetime pursuit. You might not end up finding anything. Carrie says, I like the overall structure, though. It's stuff like that exposition that anyone pick this up and could follow, for sure. And you mentioned that it's very much like Gold and Silver Age. This is classic, right? Very much in keeping with this could be your first issue of these books, and you would be able to get anything you needed out of it, for sure.
See, the thing is, and just because I'm diverting a little off topic, nowadays, it's not, I feel like the comic industry thinks or wants the writers to have the freedom to tell a grand epic story, which is great. But there's nothing wrong with telling a one-issue story that's self-contained. There's nothing wrong with it. Just tell a great story regardless of how long it takes you to tell the great story.
Right. I think it's the desire to have to do a cliffhanger to make them want to buy the next issue. And I don't know that that's a logical assumption, because the truth is, if you tell a good story, they're going to want to get the next issue,
yes.
because they want you to do another good story.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think there's a fallacy there that they've bought into in that market.
Yeah. I think they believe that, but what they believe and what reality is two different things.
Very true. We have Honda Jabroni in the chat, and we are doing a Jabroni show in about 35 minutes over on Just a Rican's channel. So if you're not following Rod the Rican, the link was in the chat earlier. I know that Carlito dropped it, but we will be over there celebrating the amazing guy that was our friend Edwin in a little bit. So thank you for coming by here. I appreciate it. And you can subscribe. You, Honda Jabroni, should make sure that you are subscribed to the Magic Lasso, because Ryan just hit 800 subscribers and we want to keep him over that 800 spot. So appreciate
it during this show.
There you go. So I'm voting Avengers on this topic. I think story-wise, it just flowed more smoothly for me. And as a launch to a new character on the team, it just worked better for me.
I agree with you. I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm voting Avengers. And out of the two issues, I would reread that Avengers issue more than I would reread that. I meant to ask you this at the beginning.
Sure.
Have you ever read this Avengers story before? I thought I had.
Yeah.
I thought I had, but when I started reading it, it wasn't coming back to me as familiar.
I know that I have read it. It had been a really long time, and there were definitely pages and panels that were like burned into my brain. But there were others that I was like, oh, I forgot about the weird spaceship that looks like it's flipping a middle finger. Like there's pieces that I forgot along the way, for sure. Great point from Seeking Superman, saying writers today often write for a trade doing 6 to 7 issue stories. I totally agree with that. Totally agree with that. And Carrie saying, as a kid, this was mostly buying back then. Could buy one issue and miss a few months and still keep up. Totally.
Exactly.
And that's a benefit, right? For sure. Yeah. For a kid collector. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we want to discuss some interior artwork here? Get into some of that?
Yeah, I think we could do that. Stick with the JLA, why don't we?
Yeah, I can do that for sure. As always, I do feel like these JLA issues do a ton of great background work. So I do feel like there was a lot of great time spent in the detail in this underwater sequence, really just spending time with the layers of the artwork in ways that I don't feel like the Avengers books always have. And certainly the first few Avengers books, I was pretty hard on Kirby's artwork. I don't know if he was just under a time crunch or something. And the JLA have been more consistent all the way along. Am I sharing my favorite panel while we do this?
Yeah, if you want to, you can. Yeah.
I mean, it's cats attacking the invisible jet.
Cats, okay.
How could it not be? I turned this page and laughed aloud at kittens battling with Wonder Woman's invisible jet. When I show this to Charlie later, it'll be the highlight of her day. It is absolutely what we want from this. So I enjoyed all of the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids kind of stuff going on in that particular chapter. Was a lot of fun. And then there's one other I really liked, but I want to hear your favorite panel first.
Okay, so first I thought that when it comes to the art, I really haven't had a problem with the art in the Justice League at all.
No, it's been consistent.
Not since day one. You're right, it's very consistent. And once again, it delivers. It's the same team. We have a very long stretch of this same team.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to have consistency throughout this entire omnibus that you have.
Nice.
And well beyond that too, I should add. At first, I thought this isn't my favorite panel, it's my runner up though, okay?
Okay.
At first I was going to go with this.
Yeah.
Because that's such a great
flash.
Yeah. And it was earlier this year, just a couple months ago, that I got my issue number 4 in my collection, and I almost used this as my thumbnail on my video. Fun.
Yeah.
I came close to it, but I didn't in the end. That was going to be my favorite until I flipped the page and I saw this one panel that made me literally laugh. And I said, this is so stupid, but I would love to have this image like in a little 5x7 framed up. And my favorite panel is this one. Look at the look on Aquaman's face.
Just pushing him along.
Yes.
pushing him across the ocean.
And was he sitting in a shell or something?
He's sitting on a shell. Yeah.
Yeah.
A really big shell.
But look at the look on his face.
Yeah. His hair's blowing back in the wind.
I'm like, that is so
That's very funny.
Funny and stupid at the same time that I could not love that more.
That's hilarious. Well, my runner-up would have been this the Superman and the Bat Jet. Like
that is good.
It is I think it's the best drawing of Superman we've had up to now. It just it is such a great Silver Age representation of him. And then you got Batman waving from the jet. Yeah, let's go for it, buddy.
Yeah.
But Superman is the one like invisible. He's using his vision to find the spaceship, and then just the pose, everything, absolutely nailing it.
If you've noticed one thing too, as JLA always, breaks the teams up into pairings and then do their middle chapters. Usually that first page, they're not splashes, but usually that first page of when they've broken off the characters has some type of an amazing. Have you noticed that we have gravitated to those images? I've noticed already a lot,
a ton, absolutely.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I knew Seeking Superman. I knew it was almost my pick, like, but when I went back through and I saw the cats again, I was just I giggled every time I saw the giant cats fighting the invisible jet. Like it was just like, come on, like that's just a guarantee at that point.
Yeah.
Do we want to get into the?
Yeah, let's get into the Avengers. So I think that the artwork is much more consistent, much more better than what we had in previous issues. I really don't have a problem with the artwork in Avengers at all. Even though the way Iron Man is drawn isn't kind of my style, but that was the style back then.
With the pointy mask.
That was the style back then. I like the artwork overall.
Yeah, and Bobby makes the same point. And first I got to say hi to Jackson Roy Kirk. What is on Jackson Roy Kirk? He says, "Am I too late to vote Avengers for everything?" You just vote it at any point, buddy. Bobby says Kirby's art developed, and I will say we're seeing that. Like issues 1 and 2 were not his best. Issue 3 came on strong, and this is definitely, like you're saying, the best one. So I definitely feel like he's come to either have more time to dedicate to these pages because he was maybe doing more books before this, or he's just improving with the grind of what he's doing. But you said about the mask. I was going to show. Sorry, did you want to show something?
I wanted to say something that I had neglected to say, and I think it's worth us pointing out. I should have said this earlier. This typically you would have expected in this story for Wasp to start, oh, look at how handsome he is. Oh, we could stir the spaghetti sauce or whatever, But they really don't do that this time, and I appreciated that.
That's fair.
She didn't do a whole lot in this story anyway.
She's hardly in it. Yeah.
But she hasn't been in a whole lot of other stories either. And when she was, it was just horrible. At least it wasn't horrible when she was in it.
She didn't have any groan-worthy sentences.
Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to add that in.
No, for sure.
Mentioned that.
This page, I guess it's like the 4th page in the issue, shows more of the helmet that you're talking about. You can kind of see the pointy helmet there. And this is my favorite panel. It's got to be
the middle one.
It's the reveal of Cap. The pose, the dark lines, the shadowing, even the Tony Stark mask. I just love the angle of it. The perspective is so strong. Wasp is flying over. I've seen this image in many collection places. It's just a really great. He's tattered clothes underneath. He's got the classic costume and the shield. I get goosebumps when I turned that page and I was like, oh, what a great moment. It's hard. And as much as I liked other panels, it was just that was the one that was like, oh. Here it is.
And that's my pick too.
There it is.
Because and for those that wonder, you and I don't discuss this stuff ahead of time.
No, it's all mystery.
So this is my pick as well. And one of the reasons that I chose this, besides the things that you said, if someone just showed you this image, or if someone did an homage to this image with no words, you would know what comic book they're talking about.
Yeah.
Just based off of this one panel. You would know what they're talking about. And I think
you get Thor, you get Iron Man, you get Wasp.
I wouldn't necessarily want it as a cover. No. But I think it makes a great interior
100%
page.
Totally agree. Bobby says, he was busy only creating the entire freaking Marvel universe. Yeah. Obviously Kirby was a busy guy. I can stand as well. So obviously starting a new title with a ton of focus on it, you don't know how his time would be so split. There was one panel I really didn't like, which is a rarity. It's that one when Cap is diving into a mob of the gangsters. It looks like his back is broken. His neck is going a weird way. It's just too much. I think it's just the poses are way off. So there's some of that stuff that there was a couple of panels that felt funny that way, but I love the like flashback stuff when we get to see him, chasing the plane. Kirby definitely was handling this really well. And there is even some pages with, obviously we still get the typical, like, let's just throw a yellow background behind that one. Kirby stuff, which is not common in the Justice League issue. The Justice League issue rarely gives you just a solid background color for a panel. But there's fewer of those in this issue. There are fewer of those just solid background color panels. So I liked that. That was nice. More freedoms taken with anatomy and what it can do. I mean, that's definitely Silver Age comics, for at least on the Marvel side, for certain. But that's also the Kirby style in a lot of ways. So where are we on artwork on this? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm actually going to go Justice League for artwork.
And I think despite this being Kirby's best, the consistency of Justice League is where I fall as well. And I think I'm going to pick that for artwork as well. It's just a pleasure to turn those pages, and the panels, it reads well, panel to panel, really well. There's, and like you said,
there's always background.
There's
always background.
Always great detail to the background. The color work is always really strong. But this was a really tough one for me. I mean, they're basically finally, this is the first time I've felt really neck and neck. And Kirby coming into his own in a big way. But I'm gonna stay with the Justice League for this one for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So this brings us to our last category of the night. Feel free to drop your comments as well as we get through this one. We're on to MVP. And what this means is Ryan and I are going to discuss one of the books, discuss who we picked independently as our MVP of that book until we can agree upon one for each story. And then those will go head to head to determine the winner in the final category for us.
Sure. Which one do you want to do first?
Let's do JLA because I think it's a tougher one. I think it's a tougher pick because there's a lot of things going on and a lot of characters giving a moment to shine. Did you want to share yours first or second?
I can go first. I went, even though it's a little bit of a cliche, I feel, to do this, I went Green Arrow on this one. And I'll tell you why I wanted to go with him and why I didn't want to go with him. I wanted to go with him because ultimately he's the one that has the means to hit the weak spot and free the Justice League.
Sure.
Why I didn't want to go with him, he's set up to do this through the entire story. So it's like, and he's not even in the rest of the book. So how can you walk in just ta-da and save the day at the end?
Right.
I don't think it's necessarily fair to the other characters that played during the entire game, you know? So, but I didn't know who else to pick. So that's where I was stuck.
And I'll tell you why I went with a different pick, and Green Arrow was second for me.
Okay.
And obviously we discussed that Green Arrow is hardly in it, and that's what dropped him down a stack. I'm always more respectful of the the JLA team member who has to go off on their own and doesn't get a partner. This month, it was Green Lantern, and that's who I'm picking. Not only because, as always, has to face down Yellow and find a way around it. He's really ingenious with this scientific, let me break down these trees, let me wrap these things in the bark, let me then petrify them into something that I can control. Then he's got to face this box that he can't figure out how to control, and he's got to fight it with all of his strength, and he's still failing, and then he's got to use the ring to make a shovel and dig it out. So his whole chapter where he shines, really effective and shows a lot of his ingenuity. Then he's the one that lets Green Arrow know where to hit the diamond.
He does.
So he makes Green Arrow's success possible by highlighting the spot with his ring that Arrow needs to hit to then set them all free. So that's why I picked it. Green Lantern.
I definitely see what you're saying, and I actually will concur to you. And with really without much hesitation at all. Like
because it's very
what you
even,
say really
this
makes
issue.
sense. Yeah.
And this issue was very even. I felt like Superman had some really cool things to do. Obviously, Wonder Woman and Martian Manhunter worked well together. Aquaman and Flash worked well together. So this was a nicely, if you were a fan of all these characters, they all had time to shine here.
So under your logic, though, one thing that works against me as a fan, I don't think Wonder Woman ever gets her own turn.
Oh,
she's always the girl sidekick is teamed up.
She's never given a chapter by herself while the guys
not that I remember.
Oh, well, then we'll keep hoping to look out for that as we go along here.
Yeah. And something else, too, that is worthy of me, should have mentioned this earlier, too.
Sure.
You talked about Green Lantern and how he takes the wood and kind of makes these cocoon-ish things, trees. That is almost foreshadowing to what we're going to see in issue number 9. Let's just put that out there.
Yeah, so, that cover, that wood bark cover for sure. Yeah.
So when we get into
that's an iconic JLA cover.
When we get into that issue, which actually won't be, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that much longer.
It's not gonna be that. Yeah, it'll be before the year ends for sure.
So
mathematically, is that
possible? Probably early next year.
Probably early 2020.
Yeah.
My question then for you, if we've got Green Arrow or
Green Lantern, it was going to be green something. I'm good with Green Lantern.
Is it possible to read that Avengers issue and not pick Captain America as the MVP? Because I struggled. I went through it each time thinking, who could I pick instead? Obviously,
let me tell you why he's not the MVP. Well, okay. why he might
play the devil's advocate for me.
Why he might not be.
Do it.
Because he sits back during the big fight at the end and waits.
And watch. There is that bit when the team is coming together and he's watching, right?
That's why I didn't want to pick him. But I didn't know who else to pick, so I don't have an answer for this one.
And if he had just sat through the whole thing, I would say yes. But when he jumps in to rescue Rick Jones,
he takes them all.
Yeah, that's when I was like, okay, he's just trying to see how he fits into this team dynamic. And he's a team leader, so he's assessing where the need is. Did he wait a long time? He waited like a page and a half of the fighting, or maybe even 2 pages. So I couldn't pick anybody but Cap for this personally.
I don't have a problem with that.
Okay.
Because I don't know who else to. I'd love to pick Scarlet Witch. She ain't in this issue.
Yeah, right. So, give it time. Give it time. We'll get there one day too. Yeah.
Yeah, but pretty soon I can.
You want Rick Jones?
It's not him.
Hey, I picked Snapper Carr on that first issue, but Snapper got involved. He wasn't just sitting back snapping,
Well, he snapped at the end.
Yes, always.
I have many issues where there's many problems.
Yes, agreed, Carrie, for sure. So now the question becomes, who is the overall MVP?
Out of those two, I know who my pick is without thinking.
I feel like Cap is the clear winner across all.
I think it's Green Lantern now.
Oh. So do we let the chat decide for us, or how do we try to talk each other down?
Well, you made so many good points about what he did.
Right. Green Lantern definitely shines without pushing that pun a little too far.
But is Cap MVP because there were no other characters around? Because a good portion of that book, it's just him.
I mean, he's solving mysteries, right? He's breaking down like what happened to our characters. He's hunting this guy down.
He is, but he did some dumb stuff too. He thought that they were just statues from the beginning in weird poses. And that was kind of dumb. And then he went, I'm going to go to a hotel. I don't have any money, but I'm going to go to a hotel. I don't know where the Avengers went. I'll just go to a hotel. And then he creeps out. Rick Jones by keep saying, "You look like my dead friend." Yeah, my dead friend looks a lot like you.
Yeah, they gave the friend blonde hair.
My dead friend will live on because of the way you look. That's weird.
Okay, you've won me over now. I'm siding with you. I will absolutely that. You make me laugh, you win a lot of points. So yeah, we're voting Green Lantern as the MVP of the week or of the episode.
But now here is the ultimate question that all of these questions led up to tonight. And you in the chat, who had the better issue?
So there's only a handful of you in the chat. You can decide right now, drop Avengers or Justice League of America. Let us know which was the better book after all this discussion, out of all this breakdown, which is the better issue number 4.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fun. I feel like there's a lot of great stuff to get into.
So if you stop and think about it, though, because we've been evenly tied a lot in these, even tonight, we have said that Avengers had the better cover. Avengers had the better story.
Right.
But then we turned around and said that Justice League had the better artwork and Justice League had the MVP.
Right. But for me, what the difference maker in that tie for me is that the MVP and the art were really, really close. But for me, the story was not very close. Like I felt like it was a clear win. And the covers,
we have a JLA vote.
The covers weren't super close. So for me, the margin of victory favors Avengers in this one for me.
And we got an Avengers vote.
And too. I knew we would have Carrie and Bobby on each side. So who's going to break it up? Carrie picked JLA. And I said hi to you, Russ. How you doing, man?
Hey, Russ.
And
congratulations,
Bobby picked
Russ.
Avengers. Yeah, congrats, Russ. 7 years.
Yeah.
Superman picks JLA. Be biased, brother. That's part of loving this. It's comics. Be biased.
You do you.
So it's 2-1 JLA right now. We got a few minutes left. As a reminder, too, we want to be subbed up to Magic Lasso. When we do issue 5, we're going to be over on Ryan's channel. The link is down below. His Instagram link is there. And there's a playlist. If this is your first time catching Avengers versus Justice League or Justice League versus Avengers, there's a playlist that Ryan has made of the first 3 issues, and this new one will be added in, and you can jump in. If you want to see how we broke down issue 1, issue 2, you want to see how that all goes, dive right in. We even had a special launch episode to go through the issues that we own, so you could see the first 20 issues of each one. I even opened up and flipped through the raw copies if you want to see the enjoyment of actually flipping those pages. You can see some of that fun, because some of those I had never opened. I didn't know if the Marvel value stamps were gone. I didn't know if anybody had cut them. I didn't know how much the pages were going to fall apart. It was kind of fun opening those for the first time.
It wasn't for chat.
Russ says, I got to pick Avengers 4. So that puts us tied 2-2. We only have a few minutes left. We got Avengers and Justice League tied 2 apiece, voting in the chat. So if you haven't voted yet, get in there. Let us know. JLA simply because Cap is cruising for a restraining order with his creepy Bucky stuff. I mean, it's that way in the movies too, right? It's that way everywhere. Purple Mountain's Majesty, Amber Waves of Grain. There it is. Bobby is a Cap fan all the way through. I appreciate that, man.
Who is this Amber he's talking about?
And she's got waves of grain.
Yeah.
Just waves of them.
She waves at the grain.
And Amber waves at grain. There you go.
Yeah. Amber waves at grain. Yeah.
Got 9 people in the chat. We just need one more deciding person, and that'll wrap it up for us tonight.
Are you sure? Because I haven't voted.
Well, I mean, you and I both voted, right? I voted Avengers. If my tie is going to pick, I think I'm voting Avengers.
Well, you know what I'm voting? Avengers. Because that's the book that I would reread.
Yes, and you had mentioned that at the top
I did.
The show.
And especially this copy.
No brainer. That's the one to pick.
It writes itself practically.
I want to thank everybody for coming by. I'm not certain when we'll be doing issue 5. We're trying to do these once a month, somewhere in the middle of the month. So about this time in September, should be over on Ryan's channel doing issue 5. We'll get into some of the dynamics now that these new team members have been added in.
Yep.
Ryan, you got anything else coming up you want to plug? Anything you want to mention? People, I know that you had your comic book editions come out recently.
Yeah. So yesterday I dropped a comic book editions video. I call it my most unusual one yet. When you have a picture of Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford as your in comic book form, it's going to be unusual. And
watch out for those wire hangers.
Yeah. Yep. So that is on my channel. I do a weekly back issue of the week every Monday morning. This week's pick is Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen. That's already over 500 views. So I was really happy with that.
That's awesome.
Thank you guys for getting me to 800 views tonight. And I've got my fingers crossed that it sticks or keeps gaining.
Yep.
At least sticks and holds. That's what I'm hoping. when I wake up tomorrow morning. And Fanboys Live and the Retro Review will be on my channel. That's the greatest DC comic show on YouTube with Signature King, Antonio Fett, and Comic Food 2814. That comes up Sunday night. And we're doing a Green Lantern. Surprise, surprise. I got Green Lantern fans on that panel. So we're doing a Green Lantern story this upcoming weekend for the Retro Review.
Well, let those guys know we got a Green Lantern MVP this week.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
We'll be throwing some love his way at the start of the next episode.
Sure will.
I want to remind everybody, my dear friend Edwin passed away a handful of years ago. This is the anniversary. Yeah, sorry, our friend. Edwin the Comic Jabroni passed away, and today is the anniversary of his passing. And we're going to have a little live stream over on Rod the Rican's YouTube channel in about 9 minutes. So if you are subscribed to Rod or want to subscribe to Rod, you can just type in Rod the Rican and his comics and go over to his channel. I will post it to my community tab when we're done here, so you can find it that way if that's easier for you. And we're going to be celebrating Edwin, talking a little bit, sharing some memories of him. People in the chat will be chiming in, I'm sure. So it should be a good time if you're interested in that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ryan. As always, this is just a blast, and I hope to see you guys in the chat here again soon. Next time, again, 1 month later on Ryan's channel, and then 2 months later back here for issue 6.
Be a good time.
Yep. Good night, everybody. Have a great night.
Unassemble.